In the previous theory video, I discussed the Crowley and Mazus reincarnation theory, but in this video, let's talk about the theory that Rikimaru is a Silverberg. This theory was originally posted on Suikoden as a joke, as nothing more than a bit of fun. It was never intended to be taken seriously, but it caught some traction and there are some within the fandom who believe this theory is plausible. So just for fun, let's dive into the theory and see just how plausible it actually is. We know that Matthew and Odessa Silverberg have a brother, but the only detail we have about this brother is that he's the youngest sibling. This little blurb is taken from the theory on Suikoden. Name. Japanese names ending in Maru are always aliases, usually used by swordsmen. The Riki basically means strength in Japanese, but it can also be a shortened form of the name Richard, romanized from Ricky. So this part is true. Names ending in Maru are generally aliases, and Rick or Ricky is often used as a nickname for people called Richard. The name Rikimaru, however, appears to be a yomyo. A yomyo was a child naming convention that was once common in Japan. This is a name given to a child until they reach their coming of age day. As Rikimaru is clearly not a child, this appears to be an alias. We already know that Riki means strength, but what does Maru mean? Maru means circle, but Maru is often applied as a suffix to something beloved, something precious to you. We'll be going by the assumption that the Riki is in fact short for Ricky, as in Richard. His name when broken down would mean beloved Ricky or dear Ricky. Origin. His place of origin was written as Seika village in the Tauren Republic. He was the only character in Suikoden 2 that was given such a specific place of origin. This can only mean that the developers had something special in mind for Rikimaru. Seika was the village where Matthew taught children. So this is both true and false. It's true that Rikimaru's place of origin is listed as Seika village, and that Matthew had a school in Seika where he taught children. However, it's false that he's the only character in Suikoden 2 who was given a specific place of origin. While some of the characters in Suikoden 2 only have a country of origin listed, and even if we ignore the recurring characters from Suikoden 1, there are still many characters in Suikoden 2 with their hometowns listed. Gengen is from the Cobalt village. Gabacha is from the Cobalt district in Two River. Adlai is from South Window City. Barbara is from North Window. Sai and Tomo are listed as being from Ryubei village. Emilia is listed as being from Greenhill. You get the idea. And while it's true that Matthew opened a school in Seika, he's not originally from Seika. Both Matthew and Odessa are from Gregminster. While little to no details are known about Matthew and Odessa's parents, Suikosource and Suikoden both mention that Matthew and Odessa's parents died, and that their uncle, Leon Silverberg, took them in, while the Genzopedia states that Leon would occasionally visit Matthew in Gregminster and would become his guardian. If both Matthew and Odessa were born and raised in Gregminster, it's safe to assume that their younger brother was also born and raised in Gregminster. Matthew didn't move to Seika until after the Calica incident in the solar year 448, which is 12 years after Rikimaru was born, but he didn't stay in Seika. At some point he left Seika and travelled to the grasslands, before finally returning to Seika in the solar year 453. Timing. As I said, this theory originally started as a joke before gaining traction, and this section is very clearly intended to be humorous, so we'll skip past this part. Physical appearance. Although Rikimaru has an unkempt appearance, his physical appearance is similar to a number of other Silverbergs, such as Matthew, Leon, and Caesar. So this one is subjective. If you look really close, you can maybe begin to see some resemblances. This could be your mind playing tricks on you because you want to see it and you want to believe it. I can see some resemblance between Rikimaru and Caesar Silverberg, but I don't see any resemblance between him and any other Silverberg. But plenty of others over the years have said that they can. Age. Rikimaru's age makes him slightly younger than Odessa, which qualifies him as a younger brother of Matthew and Odessa. Okay, so let's look at the dates of birth and see if they line up. Matthew was born in the solar year 423. Odessa was born in the solar year 434. Rikimaru was born in the solar year 436. So the years of birth do line up, and he is slightly younger than Odessa. He could qualify as their younger brother. Before I go further, I'd just like to say that while recording this video, I discovered an issue with Odessa's year of birth. I'll explain at the end of the video because it's kind of interesting. So let's summarize. The name is most certainly an alias. The place of birth, while true for Rikimaru, is not the birthplace of Matthew and Odessa, and the established timeline places them in Gregminster growing up. The physical appearance, that's for you to decide. We all see different things. And the age, he is younger than them. Now, we know that Rikimaru is an alias and that he's on a journey for revenge against a person who killed someone dear to him. Who is this someone? If we assume that he is in fact a Silverberg, could this someone dear to him be Matthew or Odessa? The theory suggests Sanchez or Barbarossa. Sanchez is certainly responsible for the deaths of both Odessa and Matthew and could be a target for revenge. But following the conclusion of the war, Sanchez was pardoned by President LePont and sought refuge in Clon Temple. This pardon may not mean much to someone on a quest for revenge, but Sanchez's whereabouts are known. He's easily findable. There would be no need to travel to the city-states of Joustin to track him down, so it's unlikely to be Sanchez. Could it be Barbarossa and Windy, who are the root cause of the entire war? But didn't Barbarossa and Windy die at the end of Suikoden 1? Well, no. Maybe. We don't know. After defeating the Golden Hydra, Barbarossa leapt from the roof of the palace with Windy in his arms. They're both presumed dead, but their bodies were never found. We know that Windy possesses teleportation magic. We've seen her use it several times throughout the game. Could she have teleported herself and Barbarossa to safety before hitting the ground? Since their bodies were never found, it's possible. But doesn't the Sovereign Rune Barbarossa possesses protect its users from all forms of magic? It does, and it should. Though perhaps under the circumstances of falling to his death, the rune didn't feel the need to protect Barbarossa from being teleported. Or maybe the rune was too weakened from its battle against the Liberation Army in its form of the Golden Hydra. Or, if I could offer another theory, what if Rikimaru is not a Silverberg? What if he is a friend of this Richard Silverberg? What if Richard moved to Seika with Matthew when he opened his school? Perhaps there Richard met Rikimaru and they became friends. Rikimaru's birthplace being Seika would be true for him, and wouldn't conflict with the Silverberg siblings' birthplace being Gregminster. We know thanks to Richmond that Rikimaru is on a mission for revenge, but what if this mission is to seek vengeance for the death of his dear friend, Richard Silverberg? Rikimaru, my dear Richard, my beloved Richard. Or possibly it's a mix of both theories. Perhaps Rikimaru is a Silverberg, but he has assumed the identity of his friend, Richard from Seika, and is now on a journey to avenge his death. Or maybe this unknown younger brother is just living a normal, regular life away from the spotlight, and we've taken what was clearly a joke and ran too far with it. Not every Silverberg has to be a famous person with a big role to play. After all, Leon Silverberg's son, George, who is the father of Albert and Caesar Silverberg, seemingly lives a normal life. But for a theory that started out as a joke, there might actually be something to it. The name Rikimaru is most certainly an alias. What is Rikimaru's real name? Who died that caused him to go on this quest for revenge? And while his birthplace differs from his supposed siblings, this could be explained depending on your take. Maybe his parents were travelling and his mother gave birth in Seika. Perhaps Rikimaru is not a Silverberg but a close friend of the unknown brother. Or perhaps they're two entirely different people. He is younger than Matthew and Odessa, and the appearance resemblance, some people see it, some people don't. There's nothing concrete, but depending on your perspective, you could easily twist the details to try and confirm your own take on the theory, just as easily as you could use the details to deny the theory. Personally, I think this is a case of connecting dots that don't exist in an attempt to give an optional secondary character like Rikimaru and an unknown character in Matthew and Odessa's younger brother a greater purpose and role than he or they have. I mean, a mysterious, unknown Silverberg and a man with an alias on a quest for revenge. How could our imaginations not run wild? So is it true? Is it false? Well, that's for you to decide. But what do you think? Is there merit to the theory? Or do you agree that it's a joke that has caught on with a small portion of the fanbase? Let me know in the comments below. So as I mentioned earlier, I discovered an inconsistency with Odessa's year of birth. Odessa's year of birth was a mess. Depending on which source you use, her year of birth and her age varied. The official manual that was included with the PS1 and Sega Saturn copies of the game lists Odessa's age as being 24. And according to articles about the Suikoden radio drama that aired in Japan, her age is also listed as being 24. This would put her year of birth as the solar year 431. However, both the Genzopedia and the Suikoden wiki list different ages and dates of birth. So why did I not go with the ages given by Konami themselves in the manual? It's because both the Genzopedia and the Suikoden wiki source their information from official Suikoden guidebooks, short novels and encyclopedias. The original encyclopedia from 2002 and the updated more comprehensive Suikoden Kiwami encyclopedia from 2010. All of these books were released years after Suikoden 1 and 2 and would have the most up-to-date information. The Suikoden wiki lists her year of birth as the solar year 432, which would put Odessa at 23 at the time of her death. Suikosource lists her year of birth as the solar year 432, and her year of death as 455, but does not list her age, though the birth year and death year would put her at 23 at the time of her death. However, Suikoden uses an antiquated Asian aging system where a person is considered 1 year old at birth. So if you take the solar year 455, which is the year of her death, and subtract 432, we get 23. And then we add 1 to the year to the ages due to the aging system, and Odessa becomes 24, the same as she is listed in the official game manuals and guides. This seems to be how the wikis and sites came up with her year of birth. But this isn't correct. For some inexplicable reason, Suikoden doesn't stop tracking a character's age at their death. Their age is counted as what they would be had they survived to the end of the war, not when the war started or when they died. Suikoden 1 takes place over the course of 3 years, between the solar year 455 to 457, and even though Odessa died in 455, official source materials continue tracking her age until the end of the war in 457. This, combined with the aging system of being 1 at the year of birth, is why she's listed as being 24. The Genzopedia listed Odessa's birth year as the solar year 437, and her age is 21. This seemed like a mistake, as it would have put Odessa at 18 at the time of her death. After speaking to the owner of the Genzopedia, we discovered that this information is based on the older Suikoden encyclopedia from 2002. The writers of the encyclopedia seemingly forgot that she died at the beginning of the game, and not at the end of the game. They used the end date of Suikoden 2 and then subtracted the age 24 to reach the date of 437, which is incorrect. The whole thing was a mess, but long story short, we discovered that she was in fact 21 when she died, and the actual date of her birth is the solar year 434, and not the date of 432 that is listed everywhere else. So what was the point of this part of the video? There is none really. This is glorified autofellatio. I want you all to praise me for discovering and fixing a lore inconsistency or something. I fixed the problem that nobody knew or even cared existed. But also it's a fun little discovery that shows that even when jumping into something as a joke, you can discover real information. So if you'd like more theory videos or lore discussion videos, please let me know in the comments below.